Hello everybody, my name is Mitch and today we're going over UFC Fight Night Makhachev versus Moises. If you're new here, we do go over the picks first and then we'll talk about the reasons why after. So let's go ahead and get started. We have Gabriel Benitez, Daniel Rodriguez, Rodrigo Nascimento, Phil Hawes, Amanda Lemos, Miles John, Francisco Figueiredo, Khalid Taha, Matus Gamrat, Rodolfo Vera, Misha and Islam Makhachev. Those are my picks. I'll talk about the reasons why. Alright, so here are the odds. Feel free to pause the video. Odds for the fights. Billy Quarantio versus Gabriel Benitez. Looking at both of their past fights, I feel like Benitez looks a little more crisp. He's got some crazy leg kicks. Billy does look really tough, but I feel like Benitez might just be a little higher up level of competition. Trains out of AKA. I've heard of that affiliation. It's always a good sign. I'm going with Benitez. Daniel Rodriguez versus Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov. For Rodriguez's side, his last fight was against Mike Perry. He looked really good there, really good stand-up. Hard to say how much that was on Daniel Rodriguez versus Mike Perry's lack of showing in that bout, but I don't want to take credit away from Daniel Rodriguez. On the other hand, we have Abu Bakr against David Zawada here. He loses. That's David Zawada's only win in his last 4 fights. Jared Gooden is still yet to see a win. I think he's 0-2 in the UFC. I'm going to go ahead and go with Daniel Rodriguez. Rodrigo Nascimento versus Alan Baudot. Both of these fighters losing to heavyweight prospects and also coming out of some tough gyms. We've all heard of American Top Team. Chris Dawkins is the prospect here, and on Alan's side, we see that he fights out of MMA Factory. I believe Cyril Gahn comes out of MMA Factory, who's coming off of a good win. And then also we have Tom Aspinall losing to the prospect Aspinall. Rodrigo Nascimento has shown a level of understanding on the ground that I feel like is valuable for the heavyweight division. I'm going with Rodrigo in this one. Phil Hawes versus Darren Nguyen. I feel like if Phil Hawes is not getting taken down, he should be able to win the round. And with that being said, I do think he's going to be able to take 2 out of the 3. I don't think Darren Nguyen really has anything threatening standing up other than the takedown, and I'm afraid that that may not be enough to beat Phil Hawes. I could be surprised here if you do take Phil Hawes to the deep waters. I could see him getting tired and not being able to do anything about the grappling exchanges, but I do think that Phil Hawes will be able to keep it standing up and cause a lot of problems for Darren Nguyen. Amanda Lemos versus Monistat Ruiz. For this one, to put it simply, I think Lemos just has more experience and wins in the UFC. We see the experience here. She lost her debut in the UFC. On the other hand, we have Ruiz, a good win against Cheyenne Buys. That's all she has in the UFC. I think that experience is going to show through in this one. I'm going with Lemos. Anderson dos Santos versus Miles Johns. We're going to do some MMA math with this one. He's 35. He's 1-2 in the UFC, and he is beaten Martin Day, who we can see is 0-4 in the UFC. I've seen enough. We're going with Miles Johns in this one. Currently 2-1 in the UFC. Francisco Figueiredo versus Malcolm Gordon. Francisco Figueiredo, for those of you who do not know, is Deiveson Figueiredo's brother, and we do know that Deiveson Figueiredo is championship level, so some high level training taking place there potentially. On the other end, we have Malcolm Gordon. He is 0-2 in the UFC. He hasn't even hit the second round. It's just not promising. I'm going to have to go with Figueiredo for this one. Khalid Taha versus Sergi Marazzov. Khalid Taha, I feel like, looks a little bit better and has a little more experience in the UFC. He's a known drug user, which is always good for an athletic competition. That's why there's this no contest versus Bruno Silva. He did win by arm triangle, of course, no contest, because he did fail a drug test. On the other side, we have Sergi Marazzov. He loses his UFC debut against Umar Nurmagomedov, who is a very high prospect. He did show a lot of heart and game and ability in that fight, but it's just not quite enough for me yet. I do like Taha in this fight. Matthias Gamrot versus Jeremy Stevens. For Gamrot, he comes off of an impressive win versus Scott Holtzman, loses to Goram Kadateladze, although I feel like he won, and Goram after the fight appears to have think that Gamrot won the fight as well. I feel like Gamrot does everything very well. On the other end, we have Jeremy Stevens fighting at 155 pounds. My understanding is that again, he has fought there before. Coming off of tough losses to all of the studs of 145 pounds. I did pick him to win against Drakkar Klose. That's kind of because I thought both would be willing to exchange heavy, and I could see Jeremy Stevens getting the better of it. But I feel like Gamrot's going to play it a little smarter, and I just think that he's going to be able to outpace Jeremy Stevens here. Rodolfo Vera versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Vera gets upset the last time he fights, his first loss in MMA. Hernandez kind of picks him apart standing up and then ends up choking him out. On the other end, we have Dustin, who I feel like isn't going to possess the same stand-up power, and because he seems to be somewhat comfortable and impressive on the ground, I feel like he's going to be willing to engage with Vera on the ground. Maybe Vera won't have to put up with as much stand-up, and Vera's nickname is the Black Belt Hunter, I assume, and expect some very good things from the grappling. I'm going with Vera. Marion Reneau versus Misha Tate. It felt like Misha Tate's return was booked like 5 minutes after she lost to Macy Chiasson. This was a tough unanimous decision defeat. She's coming off of 4 losses here, and then she comes into Misha Tate. She is 44 years old. I feel like this is just a welcome back party for Misha Tate. I don't know why they don't do this for like Nick Diaz. They want to give him, Khamzat Chimaev and stuff like that. But anyway, I feel like Misha Tate should be able to come back in an exciting return here. Islam Makhachev versus Thiago Moises. It's hard not to look at Islam Makhachev and think potential Habib level athlete, just elite MMA fighter. He's 29 years old, and it seems like he is destined to at least contend for the 155-pound belt. Recently comes off of a really good win against Drew Dober. I was looking back, it looks like his only loss is to this Adriano Martins, and it looks like he loses to a punch. I do imagine stand-up would be how you do beat him. I assume grappling around isn't going to do well for you. That being said, when we look at Thiago Moises' background, it doesn't look like he is that world beater. His most recent finish at least, comes from an ankle lock, normally unanimous decision. He does have a finish here from the Contender Series. It just seems like Islam Makhachev should be able to go in there and do whatever he wants grappling wise, and at least be able to compete stand-up wise. It feels like Islam Makhachev is certainly going to take this fight. I'm going with Islam. Thanks for watching the video. Feel free to leave a thumbs up if you did like it. Leave a comment on any of the fights that you thought I got right or got wrong. I'm excited to see how they go. I always like talking back and forth with you guys. As always, thanks for subscribing, and if any of you guys have not done that, please go ahead and do that. That's super helpful for me. Real quick, I do have my very first video covering fantasy football content. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead and check that out. There will be more coming. But that's it for me. I'm really excited about this card. I will see you guys Saturday. Peace.